I love to create art because I love to express myself, not in words. I create art also because I'm very moved by beauty and I need some way to respond to it. When I spend time with the wildflowers like that, I'm learning about them, I'm getting to know them, kind of like you would a friend. So in some ways it's for me to get to know the world better, the world around me. But it's just great to be able to express myself without having to speak. My name is Sue Bland. I'm an artist. I'm also a facilitator or art teacher, and I live here in beautiful Treaty 4 territory, Southeastern Saskatchewan, and this is our farm, Kerry Farm. I love to work with watercolors in my art. I also have a large paper collection, especially translucent papers I really enjoy, but all kinds of paper. And just recently I've started to explore a little bit with lino cut. My first influences were my mom and dad. They love the natural world. We spent a lot of time in the natural world. My dad would just stop and he would say, "Look at that light." He would see colors and shades differently from other people, so I learned to kind of see things like that. My mom celebrated beauty, so they would be huge influences. Okay, are you ready though?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, story about the willow tree.
Perfect, yeah.
This collage piece I started in a tree play shop a couple of years ago, and I pulled it out again this spring. It makes me think of the willow tree that we have out by our dugout, where lots of kids have played, where we've had tree play shops, and so the girl is just kind of in the willow, in the leaves of the willow, but looking down at the water and sort of surrounded by the leaves and the water, which I've made the leaves and the ripples in the water that kind of the same shape. And it looks dead boring to, reach into my glue and get a little bit of glue and put it on a leaf like this, but it's actually very meditative and relaxing kind of work. As I'm working with each little piece, like this tiny little leaf here is from an envelope from my friend Dolores. There might be another piece of paper that's from another envelope from my friend Joe. Most of the pieces of paper in here I know where they came from, and so this piece has a lot of meaning for me just because I love the paper. I love the little tiny leaves, and I get a lot of joy just from spending time with paper, even when it's cut in tiny little pieces like this. This willow tree is a huge draw for the kids that come here to do art. Lots of times when we want to spend some time outside, I'll say, "Do you want to go see the horses or do you want to go visit?" We call this tree Grandmother Willow. And lots of the kids say, "I want to go see Grandmother Willow." And they just love to climb up high. One time in the large bough just over here, we had a scavenger hunt, and at the end I packed these china teacups in a basket, and a whole pile of kids and some adults sat up in that branch and drank tea out of china. And then we had a drawing lesson, and they basically dropped their pencils and I picked them up and handed them up to them. So it's a place where kids can be kids and they're just automatically drawn to the tree. But I love the aspect that kids feel so at home in a tree like this. About maybe 15 years ago, I started to want to put art more at the center of my life and began to actually sell a little bit of art, and then I thought I would like to share my joy of doing art with other people. And so just here at the farm, I had a little experimental, what I called a play shop right around the kitchen table, just invited some friends, and that took off. People really like that, so I have been offering play shops and retreats along with my art practice. I like to introduce the idea of play and exploration and maybe have a little less focus on creating something perfect. Lots of times I explore things I want to explore. I've done a play shop on hands just because I was very interested in how working with your hands settles people, and I was curious about that. So sometimes play shops are something I'm curious about, and I put the word out and invite others to come along. This little girl who came here with her grandma one time to do some art. We spent some time here at this tree, then we went down to the coulee, and she was a bit scared to go down the steep hill. It's very, very steep, that hill. She'd never done anything like that before. She'd been on park trails but not gone down a steep hill. So I said, okay, let's hold hands and we'll just make like a mule deer and we'll kind of boing, boing all the way down the hill. And which she did, and she got into and thought was so much fun. And when we got to the bottom, she was just more comfortable. She started jumping on rocks and crossing logs, and she was just at home, just kind of the way you want all kids to be when they're out in nature, to just know this is our home, this is their home. Some of the motifs you'll see a lot of in my art are birds flying. These are not realistic birds, they're imaginary birds. There's something about the space in between the birds that really interests me. I love painting wildflowers, grasses in all stages, not just when they're flowering, but also sometimes when they're dead. I've had quite a few tree play shops over the years. I love trees, and a lot of people have a very strong relationship with a particular tree. So those are some of the motifs that I use.
It's a weird question for you, but do you love going to visit stationery stores?
I do, but it's like dangerous, right? It's dangerous for me to go to a stationery store. Yeah, it's like anything. If you like paper, paper will come to you. So I regularly get envelopes in the mail of candy wrapper cigarette foils from people that know that I like that kind of paper. So some of this is found paper, and a lot of it is paper that I have purchased. More from actually a paper store. The green background here has lots of plant material in it. It's my last piece of this green, which I just love. So I'm sad to see it go, but glad to be using it. I love how in watercolor you can see through the paint to the paper. I just find that very beautiful, and I suppose it's more how I see the world. I have a magical memory of my mom painting a queen's skirt in pale blue, and the watercolor just drifted right over to the edge, and it looked like magic to me. And when painting with watercolor, there's always a bit of magic because it doesn't always do what you want. Water has a mind of its own, and it can go in different directions, so I love that part. I've always found paper to be just beautiful. I have scrap baskets of it upstairs, of different kinds of paper. I like the textures, the colors, the shine. It reminds me of people or things or events. I live in a really beautiful place. I can't really go anywhere on any day and not see beauty all around me. I have the ability to get out and explore. I'm very influenced by the birds, the flowers, all the beauty that I do see here at the farm and not very far, at the coulee or in the Capel Valley.
Are you an artist who's interested in appearing on Max TV Local? Email us at max.local@sastel.com.